Hello, my name is Napoleon Atukito. This time I'm presenting Farmers Weekly from a place called Jadama in the Yagaba Kubari constituency of the Northeast region. GTV Farmers Weekly came into this hinterland to check how smallholder farmers are operating and performing, ultimately inuring to their livelihoods or otherwise. Here you find rice bags, paddy rice, that are locked up in the hinterland, whereas in the cities there are shortfalls or maybe inflated prices. And so in this episode of Farmers Weekly, we are going to examine whether indeed the northern parts of Ghana is the bread basket. So stay tuned and follow through this episode of very interesting Farmers Weekly. This is how our journey started. Rough terrain. They call the untarred rows feeder rows. Some are given light surfacing, but generally they are rough. Quite hellish experience for those engaged in the business of moving farm produce from remote areas to the marketing centers. It is purely grass and flat land in the northernmost parts of Ghana. State of soil here is not particularly fertile. On the scale of 1 to 10, the soil quality should be about 5. Therefore, fertilizer application is crucial for high productivity. The Farmers Weekly Safari in Northeast region sighted or maybe bumped into a herd of cattle. Another common agricultural feature in this part of Ghana where grasslands offer pasture to animals. This beckons location of meat processing factories here to employ the teeming youth who may be idling or enticed by the fantasies of city life. On this occasion, the tour was minded by activities of the Ghana Agricultural Sector Investment Program, GASIP, which draws funds from the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. The fund operates through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, MOFA, which gave the roadmap for investable areas in the sector. We are at Yagaba now. This was a place known as overseas for the remoteness of its location and the general lack of activity in the area, let alone attract any interest. Gradually, fallow lands are being put to productive use. And here it must be indicated that GASIP is one of the catalysts for agricultural activities undertaken by households. At this stage, we do see a combined harvester collecting in the rice field, then poured to the floor for bagging. The paddy rice is then carted away in its unprocessed form or milled before being discharged onto the market. So this is what we call the paddy rice or the unmilled rice. And in the far distance is the soundtrack of a machine, the combined harvester. And can you imagine how the situation can be or could have been without agric mechanization brought about by the GASIP IFAD partnership to up the game of rural people in their various endeavors, especially agriculture. It will have taken raw human labor, and you can imagine the suffering, the drudgery, and the delayance over a long timeline of the productive cycle. At first, the farm zones were completely inaccessible to vehicles, nor movable agricultural machinery. GASIP made it possible for the farm fields to be reached.
And you talk about roads. Yes, this government have done a lot in the area of the construction of roads. You can see from Yagaba going to Kubar all the way to Mankaruge and Lukula. For the past 5 years, it was not motorable. But now, you can use a car from Yagba to Kubari to Mankaruge without any problem. And the contractor is still working. But next year when you come, the whole thing will change. You see, they will start asphalting it from now. And if all this is done, and there's good roads, that can bring farmers, when they harvest from their villages, they can be able to bring it to market center.
Irrigation is important to crop farming. This is supported by the government of Ghana.
ban ta ka biyan mangana amfani yi na to amfani sai kan yi na ma kamo tira kir.
The level of the bridge is higher than the water level, so the water is not able to pass through to go to the other side of the land. So these people are polarized in terms of water. So they said they were just lucky that they managed to harvest something. Otherwise, all the water remains at this side. Whereas this other side doesn't have sufficient water. That because the contractor is still on, the bonds that they have constructed, the water is going towards one side. So you have accumulation of water at one side, but it doesn't get to the other side of the farm. And for that matter, it becomes difficult. But the issue is that the contractor hasn't completed the works. So definitely we expect that they'll be able to look at the levels and then get water to all parts of the land.
We are the farmers at this project. We are very, very grateful for what GASIP have done for us. But our second problem is the marketing. If they can help us to get marketing as well, so that after harvesting, we'll get people to buy it very well for us. Yeah.
What are the problems you encounter in marketing?
The problem we encounter in marketing, you see those sacks standing around. There's nobody who buy that rice. So we have to send it, keep it in the house before we can find some people to come and buy. But if there is buyers already, they can buy it from here and they will also sell it and go home.
Tell us how, out of your monitoring and evaluation so far, things have gone under your assistance, GASIP's assistance for smallholder farmers in this catchment area, for instance.
Yes, so what we are seeing here is the infrastructure component of GASIP. And that is to do with building access roads, and in particular this site that we are at, we are doing contour bonds for water harvesting for rice production. That is what we are seeing. In all, under the infrastructure project, we have done about 76 kilometers of feeder and farm tracks to help farmers in their production. What we are doing here is to hold water for farmers to be able to cultivate rice. We are doing this at this Jadima Valley, and also doing some at Salaga, the Lonto Valley. That is what we are doing. In all, we have about 360 hectares here and 360 hectares at
Even the northern sector alone can feed Ghana, isn't it?
I believe so. If we get our act together and we are able to have policies that will help farmers, the production of rice the potential for the production of rice is great, and we may not need to import rice.
Overall, what difference is GASIP making in the activities of smallholder farmers overall?
Well, I'll concentrate on this one. You see, there are risks involved in cultivation. You will farm, and then there will be a dry spell, and you don't have water to help your crop, your rice to mature. But with this intervention we have done, it helps to hold the water in bonds so that water doesn't just run away. The water stays, and the farmers can manage it for their crops to mature.
However, speaking to the local people over there, some said that, well, we understand that the contractor hasn't finished the work he's doing here. But those on the left side, from my position I'm standing, says they get water, and they say that the other side don't get water. How are you going to address this?
Well, we have taken that observation of theirs into consideration, but the contract has not been finished. The contractor had to abandon site due to the heavy rains that came. And in fact, as I said, we are doing this at two sides. The other side, they were not able to crop at all. It's this side that they were able to crop. That difference between the left and the right will be corrected when the contractor comes back to site, so that we'll get a balance of water on both sides, left and right bank of the field.
As you can see from the field, we have improved a lot in terms of productivity. You can see that with our support and intervention, our farmers are able to produce enough paddy around. The quality has also improved, which means that the market value of these commodities will increase. We also believe that the production aspect is just one part of it. The other end, which is the marketing and the processing, has to be also strengthened. The rice value chain is one that we have not really taken all the opportunities on board. There are various levels of products that you can still get from the chain, which, if well developed and harnessed, can improve or increase the income of the farmers. For example, you can, after the processing, the broken ones can be used for noodles. It can also be extracted into oil production, as well as even animal feed. So it means that you are not only getting one single grain from the product, but you are getting about 3 or 4 different products from the production.
Still in Yagaba, the inspection team visited the Department of Agriculture in the Mamprugu Mwagduri District Assembly. The warehouse in this compound is another important provision by the state, part of the forward linkage infrastructure necessary for food production. Posters on good agronomic practices are splashed on the walls of the district agric office, both for the records and as reference for visiting agriculturalists. Country Director of IFAD in Ghana, Mr. Hani El Sani, led a high-powered team on performance assessment of GASIP and beneficiary farmers. At this community engagement and sensitization forum, where IFAD's consultants Shakib Mbabali, Yao Brentuo, Peter Akari, Fuseni Abu, and a program officer of IFAD, Alicia Sansoni. Key punchlines at this meeting The paradox of plenty are low prices, so farmers store excess produce. The government's Planting for Food and Jobs program has made fertilizers available to farmers. GASI plays a complementary role by providing inputs such as fertilizers, improved seeds and tractors to the smallholder farmers. Farming has now evolved from subsistence to bigger yields, relished by poor households. When the district chief executive of Mamprugu, Mwagduri, Abu Adam, heard about the interaction taking place, he passed by and was interviewed by GTV Farmers Weekly.
We have the potential to produce rice, soya beans, maize, cowpea, and a whole lot of crops. And this government is doing very, very well. You can see a lot of combined harvesters around. There's the support last 2 years that we have boosted, and even more of the young guys have now cultivated the interest of going into farming. Previously, farming will look as if it's just a stepping stone. But I can tell you that today we have former MPs, former ministers, and a lot of big guys who are in this district farming. Farming is now a lucrative business in Ghana. And especially Mamprugu Maduri, big guys are doing it. So the young guys are seeing that yes, they can change their lives through farming. And if we get the necessary support, we'll be able to change the lives of our young guys.
We combed the vast territory of the regions in the north of Ghana. Another place of interest was the Sisala West District. Towns visited were Tumu and Pulema in the Upper West region. It was a delight to see local fabricators of agric machinery at Pulema. Young men working here are technically savvy. They produce agricultural equipment for almost all activities between land preparation and harvesting. Dintie Yusuf spoke to us in the absence of his boss.
We are doing any type of machines you want. Even if you want the thing that can cut your soybeans, that can harvest, you have no problem. That's the kind of things we do. We do multi-thresher, then there's one tool for tractor. That one is using PTO. There's another one using Chanfan. Then you can also use PTO too. And it's doing soybeans, then sorghum, every type of things we sow. And that's the things we do here.
Who are your clients? So obviously your clients are farmers?
Yes.
Mostly
farmers. We are out to out to help them so that the things they do will become very good.
So where do you get your support from? Because this is capital. You need money before you can do all these. Who is assisting you? Or is it from your pocket or your boss's pocket?
It's from our boss's pocket, our master pocket. Nobody is supporting him. After that, if somebody come, you will pay the half of money so that we use and buy the materials and start. After that, then the person will come and pay the rest and pick his machine. That's what we are doing.
Finally, is business good?
Really, this year is not good. The materials are very hard.
Hard?
It's very
hard or
no,
expensive?
Expensive.
Oh.
It's very expensive. How to buy them is not small thing.
This year in particular?
Yes.
Why?
That's the reason why we are asking why to government. Because this year alone, the way the materials are costing, people will come and sleep here. How to even get the materials and give it to them is a problem.
Several kilometers away are these soya bean and maize farm. The two crops are staples, but most important in the formulation of poultry feed. Harvest of both crops is not mechanized. it takes sheer human strength to thresh the produce. This process is not only slow, but lacks the effectiveness of machines. Webedua Kenneth Akwe tells the story behind this venture.
What you see around here is 500 acres, where we have maize alone. But down there too, we have 300 acres of soybeans where we produce ourselves and then sell to partners. So in the past, we partnered with, as I said, GASIP. We also partnered with Snapiaba, who provide us small scheme loans for our women groups to be able to get some of the inputs that they are working with. But much of our mechanization support is from GASIP, where they supported us with tractors, where we are providing tractor services to farmers in the forms of plowing, harrowing, and also for threshing. So over the years, this is how we've been operating. Yes.
The soya is a crop that is very much in need by the poultry industry. Are you doing it in relation to demand, or that is the area you get the improved seeds and therefore you decided to do it willy-nilly?
So much of our operations are demand-driven. We do what we call market analysis, and we are able to tell which crops are able to fetch in revenue. Because there's no point in entering into commercial farming blind, hoping that you get somebody to buy your produce. So the poultry industry has been the major driver for our desire to cultivate soybeans. And then maize too. But much of the interest is in soybean. You know, everybody knows Sisala area to be a maize producing area. The soya is just coming up. So we are one of the first companies that have seen the demand in the soya industry, and we have decided to move into a traditional, this maize growing area. So this is actually our fourth year of producing soybeans. Our first year we had some challenges in marketing them, but the subsequent years, especially last year, we couldn't even meet our demand. So this pushed us to enter into it more. As we talk now, we are having 3,000 outgrowers, where we supply them with averagely 2 acres each of production for the soybeans for the year. And we are doing 300 acres ourselves. So if you look at it, what we are expecting from the field is not a small quantity.
Well, we just heard from the horse's own mouth. In another development, the president of the Commodity Brokers Association of Ghana, CBAG, Yao Ohime Chei, has proposed that all trading soya beans must pass through the Ghana Commodity Exchange GCX to prevent or minimize challenges in the soya bean supply chain process in the country. According to him, a 100 kg bag of soya currently sells at a record high of 600 Ghana cedis at Farm Gate in Tumu as of the end of November 2022, as compared to a price of 180 at the end of March 2022. He made a call at a sensitization trip to the various farms in the northern sector of the country to assess at first hand the soya bean situation in the country. He was accompanied by the National Vice President, Jeffrey Ntorin Kansa. Within the space of 2 harvest seasons, prices have astronomically risen by 300%, and there is no sign of an end to the record astronomical price hikes. Mr. Chei indicated that the situation is so bleak that soya beans processors in the country pay between 700 and 800 for 100 kg bag of soya beans. Due to this, some factories are unable to even get access to the commodity due to activities of hoardings and influx of foreign nationals who are engaging in all manner of activities. He thus appealed to government to implement policy directives leading to all soya bean trading activities to pass through the exchange to ensure structured price standardization for the market, coupled with structured price discovery and trade fairness. Before advent of GASIP, tractors were hard to come by. Farmers walked long distances in search of this facility. This delayed production. After GASIP intervened, farmers get timely and affordable tractor services. Land preparation is better. It has increased women participation in the agricultural value chain, whereas haulage and transport of farm produce becomes easy. In addition, farmers are trained for compliance with climate change, ultimately obviating the negative side of the phenomenon by the adoption of researched material and extension advice. As an agric reporter, it gladdens my heart to have come to the hinterlands to see things for myself. You just saw a group of young boys using their physical presence or literally their hands to harvest an important crop as soya beans. Yet, they are largely anonymous on the national radar, and with the end results of their labor all too visible for all to see, at least on our dining tables, in the markets, and on export cargoes. Yet, this is how hard the whole cycle begins. All they are saying is that they need support for ease of their operations.